Hi everybody, I hope that you're doing well. This is week 3 of our journey through some of the key stories within the Old Testament. Before we go any further, let's have a quick recap of where we have been. Well, today's person is really important, not just in Christianity, but also in Judaism as well. He's a man by the name of Abraham. And Abraham is called one of the patriarchs of the people, okay? And we'll talk a little bit about that patriarch word in a few minutes' time. Abraham lived in a place called Ur. Can you say Ur? Don't just say it normally. You've got to give it like a okay? He lived in a place called Ur. A small place, or at least it had a small name, where he lived with his father in his father's household. Abraham had a wife. Abraham had servants. Abraham even had animals, cattle, and a bit of a farm to follow him around. But one thing that Abraham didn't have was any children. Now, Abraham and Sarah were getting older, and they were pretty old, probably, in fact, maybe even older than your own grandparents, okay? And Abraham and Sarah still had no children. But one day, God came and made a covenant with Abraham. Do you remember what the word covenant means? It means like a friendship promise between God and man. God makes a promise to him, and this is what God said. He says to him, "Go from your country and your people and your father's house to the land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who you bless, and him who dishonors you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." Wow, what an amazing covenant to make with somebody. What an amazing promise. Well, Abraham decided to trust God. He packed up all his stuff and he started to go on this journey. God said that he's going to bless them. Bless means to show good favour, to bestow gifts upon, to have that friendship. And he says, "I'm going to bless you and I'm going to make your name great. In fact, you are going to be the father of a great nation. You're going to be the dad of a country full of children." Notice as well that God also said that through you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. That is a huge promise to make. Can God really keep his promise? Well, Abraham is now on his journey. And as he's on his journey, God again comes to him and gives him a very similar promise to the promise he's already had. Now, bear in mind, Abraham is even older at this point, been traveling for some time. And God brings him out of his tent one day and tells him to look at the night sky. And as he looks up, he sees the stars, and God says, "Look at the stars, they can't be counted. The same will be your children." In other words, you're going to have so many children, they're going to be more than the stars in the sky. But Abraham still has no children. God, can you really keep your promise? There's another recount, and this is where we come to the end of our time with Abraham today. Abraham is standing outside of his tent, and Sarah, his wife, is in the tent. At this point, Abraham is 99 years old, and Sarah is really old as well. Imagine not just your grandma or your granddad, but your great-grandma or your great-great-grandma coming to you and saying, "By the way, I'm having a baby." What would you do? What would you think? No doubt you'd probably laugh. It seems quite funny, doesn't it? Well, as Abraham was standing outside of his tent, 3 visitors came to him. They were actually messengers from God. And the visitors said to Abraham, "This time next year, you will have a son." And as Sarah listened, she did just like what we thought we might do if a really old person said that they were having a baby. She laughed. When she heard it through the tent wall, she thought, how can this be? I'm old. I can't have children now. And yet she laughed. Can God really keep his promises? Well, a year goes by and the 3 messengers come back. And as they come back, Abraham is holding a small child in his arms. His wife Sarah had become pregnant and they'd had a son. And guess what they called their son? Well, the fact that Abraham and Sarah in such an old age were able to have a son, they thought that was funny. And so they called their son Isaac, which means laughter. God kept his promise. And so Christians, as they read about Abraham, they are encouraged to think that if God could keep his promise to Abraham, he could keep his promises to them as well. Abraham is one of those patriarchs we talked about. And the other 2 patriarchs are his son Isaac and his grandson Jacob, who had his name changed to Israel. You see, Abraham had 1 son, Isaac, and Isaac had 2 sons, Jacob and Esau. And Jacob had his name changed to Israel, like I've said, and he had 12 sons, one of those sons being Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat. And as the people went into a land called Egypt, they ended up becoming slaves. And hundreds of years later, Moses, the great leader, which we'll think about next week, he leads the people out of Egypt, and there's more than 1 million people in the family. The promises are coming true. Abraham is becoming the father of a great nation. But how about that last promise? That through him, all families on the earth would be blessed. Well, Christians, as they read the story of Abraham, they look through Abraham's line and they notice that Abraham isn't the rescuer, but the rescuer is one of his great grandchildren. That a rescuer is coming to bless all of the people. Well, everybody, that's the end of our video for this week, but I just want to encourage you to come back next week and we're going to leave the book of Genesis and we're going to go to the book of Exodus and find out about Moses. Could Moses be our rescuer? Well, here's your task for the week if you'd like to do it. Just like the promise God laid out to Abraham that he would have more children than the stars in the sky, why don't you create your own star picture, okay? Have a little Google of The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh for some inspiration and make your own version. Until next week, have a good week.